Happy Halloween! My name is Dakota.
I'm Lauren.
And welcome to a very special episode of the Horror Nights Gauntlet. So, like we said, welcome to a very special episode of the Horror Nights Gauntlet. We have been on hiatus, as usual. Our annual disappear for 10 months.
Yeah. I totally disappeared. I'm not even using X anymore. So.
I'll continue to dead name it as long as he continues to dead name his children.
Oh my god.
But, so we are changing some things about the show. I'm in the middle of a move, and the set is going to be in storage for the foreseeable future. So we're knocking a couple episodes out so that we can keep giving those to you guys as we get into the Halloween season. Now that we've had 7 announcements, it feels like we're really far behind, but I mean, it was kind of all at once.
All at once, 1 week, pretty much.
Yeah, and then I immediately moved, so it was like, I guess we'll get to that when we get to that. But we're back, and we're changing things up. We're if you are listening to this, you now know that it is also a podcast as well as a YouTube series, and we'll be doing some new things.
Yep. So we are switching to a podcast YouTube hybrid. So we will be doing more podcasts, but they will still be on YouTube for you to hear.
Yeah, if you want to enjoy them. Essentially, we won't have the set, so we still want to be able to make content and talk about Horror Nights, and, we're in our 30s, and time is very limited, so we want to be able to continue talking about Halloween Horror Nights and talking about more haunts, honestly, and unfortunately, just the reality of video shooting has just kind of become a bit of a hindrance.
Yeah. Plus, you're no longer going to be 5 minutes away from me, so yeah, it'll
it a lot harder.
Makes it a little difficult. So
it's going to be a little bit more of a casual kind of laid back vibe where it used to be hyper edited. It's just we don't have the time, but we still want to be able to talk about Horror Nights, and I think our opinions are still like fun. I don't know.
Hopefully.
So today, really, we just want to talk about the 7 house announcements. And I think with this new format, okay, you will still see the set occasionally. You'll still see us on camera occasionally. Sometimes it'll just be audio. But I think for special occasions, like big announcements like this, or like our reviews, of course, will still be a proper YouTube video. But a lot of the content is going to be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of the other podcast services where you find your audio, you'll find that. And it's just going to be a little bit more of a mixed game. And I think ultimately that's going to be more productive for both us and for you guys, for those of you who enjoy hearing what we have to say. So I think it's kind of an exciting chapter, even if it's very different than what we're used to.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for it. And we're hoping also to get onto TikTok and kind of grow the audience that way as well. Yeah, so
I think it'll give us more room to do some of the like weirder stuff that we've like had planned since the beginning and just like haven't really had the space because editing the show can be so time consuming and demanding with on top of just our daily lives.
Yeah,
this is a hobby. We don't make money. We don't even have the subscriber base to warrant that. So it's like we just want to be able to have fun with you guys. So I think this will be a good move, and it'll be able to get us back into doing like the proper gauntlet ranking, which we've wanted to get back to for a couple of years now, which was the whole concept of the channel to begin with,
which we've been discussing frequently. So we do have plans to get back to that
and ways to incorporate Lauren, so it's not just the Dakota show.
Yes.
So I think that'll be really fun. But I don't really think there's what else is there to say. We will have a 32 review for you guys eventually, but let's just get into 33 content. So starting on, I don't have Gary Pounds in front of me, but starting on the Friday of Spooky Empire, we got our very first announcement, and it was an original.
Yes, it was a original sequel house that they announced.
Yes, so we were introduced to Slaughter Cinema 2. Do you want to read the thingy?
If you're dying for a B-movie horror marathon, head to the Carrie Drive-In. Scream through scenes from creature features, grindhouse gore, spaghetti westerns, and more.
How are you feeling?
Excited. I mean, obviously loved Slaughter Cinema,
Yeah.
the original. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do with a second iteration of that.
I loved Slaughter Cinema. I really love any of those kind of anthology style houses, I think is what we kind of started calling them. An anthology, it's an anthology of little scenes. I've wanted a Slaughter Cinema sequel, but I desperately wanted, like, H.R. Blood and Guts to be in it.
Yeah.
And I'm still, like, fingers crossed, like, maybe one day he will show up and we'll get a little crossover. It doesn't have to be holidays. But, I think this is really exciting. The concept of, like, a spaghetti western themed scare sounds fun. Like, maybe they could use this to be, like, I don't know, like, do you remember the like trailers that would play in front of the first house? It was like a drive-in movie screen. And yeah, it would play trailers for the movies you were gonna walk through.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it also had trailers for, like, fake scenes that weren't in it, like Hive 2. And I would love it if, like, maybe some of these were, like, similar to that. Like, if the spaghetti western was, like, what the hell is the house called? The ghost town.
Oh, okay. I was
Yeah,
like,
like-
I don't know. You gotta give me something.
Yeah,
here.
like if I could get a that's my gold, back off. If I could get some of that,
That'd be great.
I would live for that. They did also reveal a character at Spooky Empire. Did you see that?
Oh, like the skull guy.
The skull guy, who I feel like is kind of informing all of the, like, kind of punk rock aesthetics
But
we've
it's
seen.
so weird because, kind of going off topic a little bit, but not really. I mean, like, it doesn't really meld with the, like, archway imagery that they've been putting in. So I'm like, what?
Yeah, no,
That's kind of a mess, but okay, we'll see what happens.
I feel like the marketing has been unified in a long time, but this feels very like, what are these two aesthetics? But he feels very of that punk rock thing.
Yeah, no, I love that aesthetic. I'm more confused by, like, the creepy archway monster.
We don't know anything this year, and I kind of love that. Like, I feel like we've been playing inside baseball for a few years, and we'll, like, get little rumors, and then we'll hear things, and, like, this year it's, like, even less than that, and I feel like maybe we just kind of been removed from it a bit. Ever since, like, Twitter died, I feel like the whole Horror Nights scene has been kind of cast to the wind, and people are on Discord and they're on threads, and, you know, ever since, like, things have changed, I feel like it's been for the best, because I feel like we've gotten so many surprises now.
Yeah.
And I've kind of enjoyed that.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy it, and I don't know. We'll see what this year brings.
But, so, you know, we thought we were just getting the one announcement, and, you know, a lot to kind of speculate and imagine. I mean, Slaughter Cinema, it's an anthology, it could be anything. But, I don't think anyone was expecting the week that then followed.
No, definitely not. I vividly remember texting you, it's like 9 a.m. on a Monday. What the hell is happening? There's an announcement for a house.
And it's another original. And I'm very into this, like, hello, originals.
Yes. I also was telling Dakota about this as well. I really think that getting us the originals first is a smart move, because the people that care the most about announcements this early on in the season are gonna be the hardcore fans, and we all know that the original houses are the best houses, so we're excited for those.
Exactly. I feel like making the originals first also, it allows you to drum up that hype for the people who care the most, and then it also allows you to save the bigger IPs for later, whenever they're going to be more relevant and when they'll be closer to opening, essentially. And so the people who don't follow this all year can now see, like, oh wow, A Quiet Place. Oh, and Halloween Horror Nights is in 2.5 months. Holy shit. Like, you know, so I feel like that's like a nice kind of, like, positive to it. I mean, I have problems also with kind of the way this massive reveals kind of went down. But I mean, at the end of the day, we got 7 announcements in the space of, like, 2.5 weeks. So
Here's the thing too, is, like, we didn't, I don't think, always got a podcast right with the announcement for the originals, because, I mean, they had, like, stories and stuff going on along with it, so.
And ultimately, the reality is that Universal right now is more focused on promoting Epic Universe They have the summer event that just started with, DreamWorks Land, with the parade that's coming, with the nighttime show, with the summer tribute store, the Epic Universe Preview Center. I mean, there's so much going on that Halloween Horror Nights, it makes sense that, at least in terms of marketing, is kind of taken the back seat this year, and probably will for most of next year, too. I think until we've kind of cleared that Epic Universe hump.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, also, I feel like the hardcore fans are the ones that are most excited about it right now. But if you're just, like, a casual, like, Horror Nights fan, then you're going to get more excited when it's closer to Halloween. And so it makes sense for them to kind of market it more then.
That does bring us to our second house, though, which is called Goblin's Feast. Welcome to the Goblin's Feast Tavern, and visit the Goblin Village, where a lavish feast is being prepared for goblins, orcs, hobgoblins, and witches, and you are the main course. I'm sorry, it said you're, whatever.
No one cares.
No one cares. No one cares.
It's not on the website, so.
Yeah, it's not on the website, so who even knows? You have to dig through their Twitter to find it. First of all, love this. Very hyped for this.
I'm hyped, but I'm also, like, slightly nervous because it's also giving me Coven vibes a little bit.
Oh, Spirits of the Coven?
So I'm hesitant, but excited.
Here's my theory. What if it's connected to Dueling Dragons?
Okay.
That would be iconic. I mean, because they've done, like, orcs and goblins a billion times. Or what if it's connected to Wicked Growth?
That'd be very
with, like,
exciting.
the witch house and the goblins outside of it. Either of those, I'm like, hold on. And I'm like, more dark fantasy, very into that. More, probably, just the color palette of it, of the logo being, like, all, orange and a thing. It's giving very, like, Halloween vibes. And I'm like, this feels like this could be, like, the kind of quintessential Halloween house this year. Mm-hmm. Where, I think there's room for a couple, like, at least one other house to kind of be quintessentially Halloween, but I'm getting very Halloween-y vibes, very, like, fantasy. I also, like, they're talking about it being a goblin village, and I was like, what if it has kind of the vibe of, like, Blood Moon?
Okay.
Of, like, the village and Blood Moon, and maybe,
fun.
like, but, more fantasy. That could be really cool. I'm fully just guessing, but these are, like, kind of where my head is at, like, thinking about this house. Like, I see a lot of potential with this.
I could also see this being kind of campy.
Yeah,
and,
for
like,
sure.
I would love that.
Maybe like a Scary Tales vibe to it, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, or even a Tooth Fairy vibe. Like that kind of like manic, kind of like almost Gremlins vibe. I could really see working really well with like a Goblins thing. So really interested in this one.
Yeah, it feels like it could be like a high energy sort of house for sure. Which kind of leads us into our next house.
Yeah. Which, interestingly enough, so we do have another sequel house this year.
It is Major Sweets, which is based off of the Scare Zone from. It wasn't last year. It was the year before.
31. Yeah, 31. It was Sweet Revenge.
Yeah.
Sweet Revenge, and then this is Major Sweets' Candy Factory. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you've been invited to chaperone a field trip to a candy factory. The deadly, delicious treats turn the kids into sugar-fueled fiends.
How you feeling?
Very Willy Wonka.
I'm also thinking very Willy Wonka.
I'm feeling Willy Wonka, but I'm very excited for it. I didn't appreciate the fact that I'm going to be a chaperone because I already feel old. I didn't need that. Emotionally.
I feel like a chaperone every time I go to Horror Nights lately. I'm like, wow, all of these children everywhere. Am I just old now, or is this always been the demographic? But
So yeah.
But I mean, so the Scare Zone, I feel like I was like one of the few people who was like a little bit critical of it, but that's only just because I've said it before, but like, we've seen evil trick-or-treaters, we've seen Halloween Party gone wrong before as a Scare Zone. As a haunted house, though, this actually interests me a lot more.
Yeah.
Because we've only seen, like, factories 2 or 3 times. This does concern me because it could be very Spirits of the Coven. But it could be Giggles and Gore Inc. And that was iconic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and if they're leaning into this with, again, I don't want to, like, dive into, like, oh, it could be very Scary Tales, but it could be very Scary Tales if they, like, use Major Sweets as a sort of Willy Wonka, like, kind of twist on his character. Because
absolutely.
Beyond his backstory that we got in the podcast, I mean, the character in the Scare Zone was just kind of like a guy, you know?
Here's the other thing. Do we think that this is a prequel to the story of the Scare Zone?
It could be.
Like, kind of testing it out in his factory where it's kind of, like, secure first.
And we could see, like, little kids, like, being experimented on.
Like, getting ready for the Halloween release.
For sure. I could even see this having maybe a little bit of, like, Halloween 3 vibes.
Yeah.
Would be really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the other house that I was going to say probably has a very strong, like, season of Halloween vibe to it, for sure. And I think that's really exciting.
Under my foot right now is literally a bead from when your thing broke on camera.
That is hilarious because we're in a completely different room of the house.
Almost never see it during opening.
Dark-sided. They're everywhere. Still finding those.
Years later.
But yeah, so Major Sweets, I definitely could see having like a evil Willy Wonka, like kids like getting put in weird candy torture devices. Like basically, if Willy Wonka was upfront about the fact that it was a slasher movie.
Yeah, but I also like the point of Major Sweets, I don't think is going to be to harm children. It's going to be more of like children hurting adults.
Yeah, that's true.
So
it could be, it could be the brainwashed kids torturing their parents.
They could be like the Oompa Loompas.
Yeah, very. Ooh,
like,
I could see that.
Brainless sort of like followers.
Trick-or-treaters, Oompa Loompa, evil trick-or-treater kind of fucking Halloween 3 kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we have this sussed out. We'll see. We'll see.
We'll take notes, let you know.
So, that was Tuesday. Then Wednesday, we got The Museum, Deadly Exhibits.
I'm glad you knew the subtitle because I didn't write that one
I was like, it's okay because I remembered the subtitle. Whose turn is it to read?
Yours.
You decide to visit the new folklore museum exhibit, The Rotting Stone, when an evil escapes from within, destroying everything in its path. First of all, I have no idea what to expect from this.
Yeah, this is such a vague sort of description of the house.
Even the logo.
I was just saying, there wasn't much to the logo to, like, give anything away.
It's just, like, a title on black, basically, with, like... And so that got me thinking, like, other museum movies. Obviously, everyone's jumping right to Night at the Museum, and, like, if... it would be very funny if Major Sweets is a parody of a kid's movie, and then this is a parody of a kid's movie.
Oh, that would be great, actually.
This is the house I have a theory on. The theory being rooted, of course, in the tribute store last year. Mm-hmm. Particularly the Boris Schuster Room, False Idols, Part 1. And for a long time, there was a rumor going around this season, before we got the names of the original houses, that we might be getting a Boris Schuster house. I still don't know if that's true. I still don't know if I believe that. But if you recall, in that room of the tribute store... It's New York City. There's an idol that him and some lady have found. It's also in the little comic book. And it has unleashed some sort of army of Lovecraftian creatures and a big Cthulhu monster. And I'm like, in Boris Schuster's house, there was a scene and a book called Massacre at the Museum. And it had gross Lovecraftian, Cronenbergian, John Carpenterian monsters running around in it. And what does the motherfucking arch look like? A big Lovecraftian, Cronenbergian, John Carpenterian monster. And I'm just like, we have an idol. Whatever the what is it called? The Rotting Stone is, that is released in evil, destroying everything in its path. And I'm just like, what if this is a Boris Schuster house?
That'd be great.
And then to add to this rumor of probably nothing, is then people are like, oh, well, there's a rumor that there could be like an unconventional icon this year. And it's like, and I don't know if you recall a few years ago, Mike Aiello was like, well, Boris Schuster is an icon. I don't really vibe with that. I think the icons should be antagonists. But what if Otis, the name that the official Universal Orlando Halloween Horror Nights Twitter has named the arch monster.
Oh.
What if Otis...
Is that serious, or is it like Chad?
It's like Chad, but it's like Chad and Lil Boo.
Okay.
Because that's how Lil Boo got its name, too.
I know.
But it's like, so everybody's calling this thing Otis, and it's like, what if Otis is the icon, and Boris Schuster is like kind of our like human, like, adversary to it? And then, I don't know, this is so stupid. I'm just like, I just really want a Case File sequel. But I don't know, it just got me like thinking like, maybe I'm just doing a bunch of mental gymnastics. I don't know.
I mean, sounds good to me.
Like, I feel like there's a path here. It also could just be a completely original house about, a museum.
It could be like Night at the Museum.
It could just be Night at the Museum, but murder. But I would like to believe, it also kind of reminds me of, I don't remember if it was an 80s or a 90s movie. It's called The Relic. And there's like this big, like, alligator beast kind of running around. Maybe watch The Relic, everybody. But that's kind of the vibes I'm getting from the museum, and it has me kind of, I guess I'm not really getting any vibes. Those are the vibes I'm projecting onto the museum.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see kind of where that goes. Did you have anything else to say?
I really don't, because they just didn't give us a lot for that one. So I'm excited, but I don't know much.
And that's the fact that they gave us so little is the reason I'm sort of like
doing mental gymnastics.
Doing mental gymnastic, yes, but also like
there could be more here.
Have they told us so little because it's integral to the plot of the event? I just have such a hard time believing that we wouldn't get an icon after the success of Oddfellow last year.
I freaking hope that we continue the icon trend, because even before I started going to Horror Nights, like, I knew of the icons just as somebody living in Florida and seeing the advertisements, and I honestly started going after the icons kind of disappeared, and that always made me kind of sad. I was like, I want a themed event. But so I was thrilled with Oddfellow last year, and I really am hoping to see more.
Yeah, so I think this could be a really interesting jumping off point if that's what they're doing. I mean, it probably isn't, but we can hope, we can dream, we can fantasize. That does bring us to Thursday's announcement. Monstruos, the monsters of Latin America. Lauren?
Absolutely cannot read that. Thank you for asking.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. There's one that I'm like, I'm gonna struggle with this one, and I'm so sorry. I probably should have listened to everybody else's podcast to it first, and I'm gonna struggle through it, but fine. With La Muerte as your guide, you'll be begging for piedad from these three terrifying legends. Oh God. Tlahuelpuchi? I don't think. La Lechuza and El Silbón. So this is a remake? I guess it's a remake, yeah. It's a remake of a house from H.H. in Hollywood last year. And that house kind of was built on a precedent of Hollywood has kind of, there's a lot of Latin American people who live in in Southern California. So they've really leaned into a lot of Latin American folklore at the Hollywood event, and I've always been very jealous of that here. I wish we would do something similar with other cultures. I think it's getting better. But, they started with La Llorona, then they did El Cocoy, then they did... they had a big scare zone that was a bunch of different like Latin American myths, and then of course they did this, and we remade their La Llorona house. We did our own Chupacabra house, and now of course we're remaking this house. I think there's a lot of really cool potential here, and I think what Orlando excels at is going to be sets and puppets and things like that. So I think we could do this on a really grand scale. And if the rumors are true that this isn't a soundstage, I think this is going to be the one to like really watch out for. But as far as the Hollywood house goes, I watched the POV once like last year when it happened. And then, I haven't really dwelled too deep into it, but I do think that the big owl monster, I couldn't tell you which one is which. I'm sorry. I will be more educated by the time we're going to the event. But there was like this big owl monster animatronic puppet. I don't know how they created it, but it was humongous. And if we get that thing, I'll die happy because it was beautiful and crazy. I don't know enough about the folklore of any of these characters to really like speculate. I do think that the house in Hollywood, from the POVs we watched, we didn't go, but looked beautiful, and I think this has a lot of potential to be like kind of a sleeper hit, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't love this trend of trading houses.
I don't either, but I'm also like excited because I'm like, I don't know, we haven't been going to Hollywood for several years, so it is kind of nice to be able to see something from their event.
That's valid.
Kind of show up, and you know that Orlando's going to put their own spin on it, most likely. So
yeah, and I think
and Universal can maybe save some money.
I think my hesitation is more, I worry that the event is becoming a little bit homogenized between the two U.S. parks, specifically like. Hollywood remade Scarecrow and Dead Exposure, which the rumor like being like not black and white. I don't know what they're doing out there. I don't follow that event that closely, but I'm worried, like, we already share so many IPs, starting to share houses. Like, at what point did the events no longer feel unique and feel distinct from each other?
I feel like they would still feel unique because they would have completely different creative teams, but then they're only making merch for one event. They're not going to have merch for two separate events, which they already pretty much do. But like, you know what I mean? So I can see it going that way for that just alone.
I guess in my opinion, it's a silly cost-cutting measure for a multi-million-dollar event that there's
a lot of silly cost-cutting measures that companies do just to do.
Oh yeah,
so,
for sure. No, for sure. And it is what it is. It's
business.
It's business, but it's kind of just like
Yeah, it does kind of like make it sad for like the creative aspect of it, but yeah.
And it does. It also just kind of I feel like down the road I could see this becoming a thing where like there becomes just one team who designs for both coasts, and like, okay, these are the originals, and Hollywood's doing Major Suites too, and we're also doing, I don't want to see it become that, I guess. If it remains just like occasionally they'll remake one of our houses, we'll remake one of theirs, I think that could be cool. And obviously we're going to continue sharing IPs because that's how licensing works. It just makes more sense. But I do hope that it doesn't just become two copy and paste events in a few years. That's my concern.
People would save some money though. They wouldn't be traveling across the country to go. So like how much business would they lose in that sense as well? So there's pros and cons.
There's pros and cons.
I don't see that fully happening.
I don't either. It's just it's a thing. It's a concern I've had, and it's one I've seen other people voice, and I thought maybe we should talk about it a little bit. That does finally bring us to Friday, and it's the last of the original houses, the sixth original house, which also 6-4 split. Damn.
Is Triplets of Terror, and you're invited to the Barmy Triplets birthday bash. But beware, they celebrate by recreating their family's murders. Prepare for a gory gathering. It's not what I wrote, so.
What do you think?
I'm not super excited, mostly because we already have like a feast house, and now we're having like a birthday bash, and that kind of feels similar to me. Unless it's like a birthday bash, not like a house situation. I don't know. I could also see it being kind of like Five Nights at Freddy's, like a birthday Chuck E. Cheese situation.
Yeah, I was also getting so no one knows, and truly we don't know either. There is the question has been presented. Could this have been a last minute original, something like an IP that dropped out? Because 6 originals and 4 IPs is pretty unusual. Mm-hmm. They usually want to have 5 IPs. And it just seems this one just feels kind of like the odd man out, like a slasher theme. We don't usually do just kind of straight up murder anymore. I feel like at Horror Nights it's almost always like there's some element of fantasy, even or some silly element. So the birthday party thing, almost has me wondering, like, could this have been leftover plans from a Five Nights at Freddy's house that was rumored earlier this year that may have been scrapped? There's rumors of this being, like, set in a neighborhood. Could this have been the Nightmare on Elm Street house that was rumored and then rumored to have been scrapped? Who knows? We don't know. I feel like if it is an IP, we'll probably be able to tell when we walk through, much like Hellgate. Not Hellgate, Hellblock. You can't call two prisons and put the word hell in them and expect me to get it straight. I'm sorry. Aww. But that is a concern. But I think I'm trying to be more positive. It is definitely I would say the original I'm least interested in.
Yeah, it felt very, I don't know, something about the art and I don't know.
A lot of people are like, oh, it could be The Strangers. If it was The Strangers, other people, one of the consistent things I've seen people saying is, oh, this seems like they just took a stranger's house and changed it. And it's like, Universal knows better than if they had an IP, to just kind of leave it exactly the same. Like, they have to change it,
yeah.
you know? So they wouldn't do 3 killers if it was The Strangers. I think this is their own story. And the birthday party thing, I think, could be really fun. It'd be really cool if, like, maybe they take us to some, like, Cary, Ohio locations. Like, Shitty's Kids would be really cool. Like, if the birthday bash ends up there. I think that could be really cool.
Yeah, I think I'm just interested to see, like, where is the birthday bash taking place? Because that is going to kind of, I think, determine my excitability for it.
And I think how much it leans into the silliness of that. Because if we get, like, camp slasher gore house, this could be really fun. We haven't had a gore slasher house in a long time.
I feel like we have so many camp options that it's not going to be campy, and that has me concerned as well.
That is true, because I do think that
Major Suites, I think, is going to be camp.
Slaughter Cinema is
Goblin
camp.
Feast can be camp.
That's true.
I feel like this is going to be the gore house. And
one of the other IPs this year is also pretty campy. And I'm like, wow, that is kind of a lot of, like, lighter toned houses, potentially. So yeah, you're right. This could be more aggressive and scary, which I would hope for. I would love that. I would love something like...
Honestly, I would love the cave portion of, like, House of a Thousand Corpses sort of, like, vibe. I
was thinking maybe, like, if it was something in line with, what the hell is it called? It's, like, one of my favorite houses. Leave It to Cleaver. If it was very, like, Leave It to Cleaver, like... a little silly, but very gory. Very heavy on the gore. Even, like, Nightingale's was very gory. I just feel like we haven't seen heavy gore in a while. So this could be fun. Like, this could be very, like, ew, gross. I feel like we haven't had a gross house in a while. I'm racking my brain I don't think there was anything particularly gory last year. When I say gory, I mean, like, blood on the floor, the walls, piles of guts, bones, like, gore.
The smell of shit.
Yeah, the smell of nasty smells. Like, I'm talking, like, we haven't had a gore house in a while. So this could be really cool. Or it could be fine. You know, I don't know.
Or it could be bad. I mean, there's options.
It could be. This one, it's so weird how, like, I feel like this and the museum are the biggest question marks, where it's just like, what the hell is this going to be? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to think about it.
We'll see.
But I want to be positive. I want to be optimistic. I'm in my, like, being a better optimistic person era.
So we also got Quiet Place.
Finally, an IP.
Our first of, remaining IPs, I guess. Silence your screams if you want to survive the terrifying post-apocalyptic world. Like the Abbott family, you must keep quiet as you travel from the farmhouse in the woods to the foundry. As soon as you make a sound, monstrous creatures who can hear the slightest noise will hunt you down and silence you for good. How you feeling?
I'm not crazy about this movie, to be honest, but I think it's good. I just have never rewatched it.
I have, but it was not a good experience for me. My thing about this is, how is this going to work as a house when the whole concept is to be quiet? Because I'm like, the people in the house aren't going to be quiet. And if, like, the sound in the house is quiet, you're going to hear, I don't know. I feel like this has the potential to not be great.
This is definitely the one that I'm very question mark about. This house did have a press release with it, and it also got a merch reveal. So this one felt kind of like a proper house reveal. The press release, I don't have it in front of me, but did have some interesting information. One of which being that the cast will be using sign language, which I think that's great. I love that.
Yeah, that is great.
More inclusivity, we're all for that. And that they're experimenting with ways to kind of suppress sound, which they've done that twice now with the graveyard games. The like blackout hallway had a what is the word I'm looking for? A sound, not a sound barrier, a sound
dampening.
Whatever it was, but anyway, so like they did that in graveyard games where they deadened the sound a little bit and the sound was more muffled and you had kind of...
It was more of like a 3D sound experience.
Yeah, it was like a 3D sound experience. And they did the same thing in Haunting of Hill House. And I was wondering maybe if this might have elements like that. But The Quiet Place didn't have like a blackout thing going on in it. So that's kind of where I'm questioning it. I'm also very over rustic horror. Just in general, Last of Us, Walking Dead, A Quiet Place, post-apocalyptic. I don't care. I've said it a billion times. This is just not a genre I give a shit about. So in that regard, I'm kind of like, but the monsters would be really cool puppets.
Yeah, they would be really cool puppets. I also feel like the houses that they've announced so far could be like puppet heavy.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's kind of exciting.
This for sure, Monsteros, I think maybe Museum, and I think Goblin Feast.
Yeah.
I could see puppets in all of those, and everybody loves puppets. So I don't know quite how to feel about A Quiet Place, because I feel like the reality is they're going to want people to be quiet in the house, and this is a place where people are blackout drunk, and that doesn't happen. And people are screaming, and it's a haunted house. It's loud. It's presumably in a soundstage, so it's probably sharing that space with another haunted house where people are being very loud. And I'm just like, I don't see the quiet part happening. I don't see that happening at all, actually.
Yeah, I'm excited for the monsters. I liked A Quiet Place as a movie. I just don't know how well it's going to translate to a haunted house.
I still haven't seen the second one.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, the third one's about to come out, and I still haven't seen the second one. I love Cillian Murphy. I don't know. I never got around to it. I was kind of like, when the first one came out, I was like, it was good. I just didn't, I don't know. I never thought about it again.
I think that's why I rewatched the first one, was to watch the second one. And it was after my dad had died, so that was not a fun experience to rewatch the first one.
Ouch.
I was like, I've seen this movie. It'll be fine. It was not fine.
Damn. Yeah, that does not. Oof. I just watched it the one time. It's such a weird IP, because for me, it's like when I literally, it was like in one eye, out the other. That's not an expression. But like, I don't know, I saw it the one time, I was like, it was good, and then I never thought about it again.
Well, but here's the thing, too, is we saw that together, and we were in one of those movie theaters where you eat dinner. I
forgot about that.
And so I was like, this was the worst kind of movie theater to see this movie in, because you got like forks clanging on plates.
That is true. I completely forgot we saw that at a dinner movie theater. Yeah. That's wild. I forgot I saw that with you, let alone, I forgot who I saw it with, let alone the conditions I saw it under. That's funny. Maybe I would enjoy it more. I will be rewatching it before the season starts. It's not my cup of tea in particular. There's other IPs this year that are rumored that I'm a lot more interested in, but this is it's a Quiet Place. The merchandise and the poster,
oof,
I found very amusing, because that is not Emily Blunt.
Well, it's just maybe they don't have the rights to like their likeness.
I'm sure they don't,
and so it's just going to be the monsters.
I would have had the monster on the poster, honestly,
yeah,
and someone cowering or something like but just the image of some stock actor going. And it looks like a mid-2000s emo band cover, like album cover. The shirt is horrible. There's a mug that, like, it's one of those heat like,
oh, I haven't seen
those thermal mugs that like change colors. Except it reveals the image, And I'm just kind of like, so I could just put cold drinks on it and never see them. It's not good. But you know, it is what it is. I don't want to say it's like, it's not the worst thing. It's not good. I don't love that visual. It's really dumb looking. It just doesn't, it just kind of looks generic and knockoffy. And it's like, damn, this is like Universal Studios. I would have thought like budget. I would have put the monster on it. Honestly, I would have put the monster on it.
Yeah, the monster would have been smarter.
It's just kind of weird choice in my opinion, but whatever. And that kind of leads us to the end of the announcements we've had thus far at the time of this recording. I'm sure because we have recorded and an 8th house will get announced because that's how this works. There have been a few other things though.
Before they announced A Quiet Place, they did also announce a premium Scream night.
Which will be a limited capacity event. It's one night only. It is preview night, the night before opening night. And I believe the night after team member preview, I believe. So it'll be the Thursday of opening weekend. It is $350. It is limited capacity, so it'll be shorter lines for everything. And then
they're going to stagger house entry.
And there's also
all you care to enjoy food,
which I assume means some of the booths will be open, but not all of them, and you'll have like a punch card that you just scan and they give you something, or maybe you just walk
I feel
up.
like it's kind of like an expansion on that thing that they had last year, where you could just go and sample the drinks and food before the event.
Well, because they're also doing a preview Unmasking the Horror Tour this year. That will be starting like 2 weeks before the event in mid-August. And that, I also wonder if that hasn't spun out of the food preview thing. And it has me also wondering, like, are we going to do another food preview thing? Because I feel like the food has actually become a really exciting attraction of Halloween Horror Nights, like the food festival element.
Yeah.
I feel like they've really kind of whipped that shit into shape. And, so I'm intrigued by this. I know on Twitter I seem very incendiary and like I just fucking hate it. What I don't like about it is that it has essentially created this sort of first culture FOMO thing about opening night. It's just essentially kind of ruined the sort of, there's this mystique, this magic quality about opening night, that this je ne sais quoi that I think this will ruin. And that's kind of hard to express in 100 and whatever characters on Twitter, but it's genuinely just that I'm like, I don't like it because it feels like it's ruining the sort of special nature of opening night and making it this sort of elitist thing that you have to pay all this extra money for to just be able to be like, well, I went first. And it's like, cool, who cares?
$350 is such a steep price too. It's baffling, but like I you're gonna have people that pay it.
There's
so
plenty of people and the people
definitely makes sense, but it's just like so unattainable, especially if you have, people that are coming to the event like opening weekend or the weekend after that, and like I don't know. But I was also gonna say opening weekend always has its challenges with them, like getting their feet wet with the characters in the houses, with how operations like has everything set up and flowing smoothly. So I'm really wondering how this is going to affect that for opening weekend, and then also if it's going to be a shit show that you paid $350 to enjoy.
I feel like this is, I mean, they haven't announced anything, but I feel like this is really going to be media night. And all the people who would have been attending for free for media night will be going to this night in particular. And I understand that. I think media night should just be team member night, honestly. But I understand the appeal of this for people, especially out-of-state people who aren't going to get frequent Fear Pass. But it does just kind of feel like a fuck you to the people who like are already spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on their frequent Fear Pass. It's like, well, if you want to get to do it first. I don't know. I think first culture and FOMO culture is disgusting as it is. And this is absolutely capitalizing on that. And I'm just like, I don't know. I think this is shitty. I think you should have done this on like a couple of random Tuesdays after opening weekend. And I think that would have been acceptable. But I agree with what you're saying. I think that without all the kinks worked out, this could be a complete shit show. This could be a complete fucking mess. Honestly, I hope the annual hurricane falls on this night. I said what I said. So, hubris.
Oh, man. For that, it's going to rain when you go. So.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be opening. I'm going to put a full beat on, and it's going to get ruined by the rain because I said this.
Maybe I don't even do outfits this year because it's just...
I'm getting so tired of putting a whole fucking look together that I'm really happy with, and then it getting destroyed by rain.
I feel like the only time that didn't happen to us was Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
But so maybe this year, if we hit Ghostbusters again.
Yeah. Wait, 30... No, it didn't happen to us on the weekend year that we did that weekend look, but that was painfully hot.
Yeah.
Honestly, the rain would have been welcome.
Well, we were all wearing jackets, like idiots.
We all wore red coats just to fucking sweat our brains out. The way our group started dropping like flies was crazy.
Oh, man.
Anyway.
Ooh.
That does have me wondering, though, like, what are we going to do this year? Because I have not settled on anything.
I don't know. I'm getting older. Part of me is like, you know what sounds great? Leggings and a t-shirt.
I just love serving cunt so much.
I like it too, and I love the crafting of the outfits.
It's just like something fun to do. Honestly, what I love about making a little outfit for Horror Nights, specifically for opening night or opening weekend, is it's something to throw a movie on, like one of the IPs. You throw it on in the background, and you work on your little thing, and you get yourself all hyped up. And I don't know, it's just like, it's fun.
And you have like craft nights with your friends that are also going, and you're like spitballing ideas, making each other's shit better.
It's like I don't want to stop because it's very fun to do, and I love encouraging other people to like just experiment and like play with clothes, and turning looks is fun, people. It's fun.
But it's also fun to be comfy. So if you just want to wear leggings and a t-shirt,
no judgment, zero.
That.
But I will be turning a look. But I think this could be a very fun year, and I'm excited to see where things go, and to kind of, once we do have a full look at what the zones are and what the houses are, I think that'll, it'll be fun to figure out what our rankings are. I kind of have a little bit of a ranking in mind already, but...
Yeah, you do. You sent yours to me already.
Well, they didn't have to know that, but yeah. I've maybe done my ranking already.
I have no idea yet, so... Because I'm also not on Twitter, so I'm not really seeing everybody's like thoughts and stuff about the houses this year yet. So I don't know how I feel either. I'm just short on information and want more.
I feel like my shit isn't cemented until we do these, though.
Yeah, that's fair. And then, like last year especially, it changed like as we were doing everything. So it was just like...
I mean, we had like 2 weeks before opening day when they all dropped, right? Or was that the year before?
I don't know.
Who knows? It's hard to keep track of. I'm old. But yeah, so, that brings us to kind of the end. We'll be doing proper special reports. I don't know that there'll be videos necessarily, but at least for those last 3 house reveals and for the zone reveals and shows and whatever else, we will at least be trying to do, if not videos, at least podcast reactions for those houses. So that will be coming down the line. We're going to have our 32 review shot.
Eventually.
It'll be up eventually. We're going to try and shoot it. We got to shoot it like ASAP because the set has to go. And then just a couple of other little things. But yeah, so those are coming down the pipeline. And of course, we'll have the season proper where I don't even want to promise anything because it never goes how I think it's going to go.
I think we can start nailing down some like topics for the gauntlet, actually ranking past houses. Something kind of exciting. I haven't done as many houses as you, but this year I will hit my 100th.
Hell yeah.
Orlando haunted house, so I'm very excited for that.
That's tight. I didn't realize we were there already.
We're there already because they've been doing 10 houses a year for so many years now. Yeah. When we created the channel 4 years ago, I had something like 150. Mm-hmm. Which means I've got to be pushing like 200 soon, which is crazy. Well, we also had COVID.
Yeah, we had COVID. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a lot. There's a lot. And so, we want to try. Essentially, we want to be able to do the ranking episodes, and I don't know how many houses we'll do per episode, but it's going to be audio. The editing, it's very time consuming. I have a full-time job. She has a full-time job. It's just, we want to be able to talk, and the talking is really the interesting thing, I think. So
yeah. I mean, like, it is nice to see images and stuff from those houses, but they're not necessary to get what we're saying.
They're not necessary, and, you know,
you can always look at them as we're speaking. You can,
in fact, look them up on the HHN Wiki, because I'm always citing my sources anyway, and it's usually just the wiki. I just want you to be able to have a frame of reference for what we're talking about. So, really, that I think we want to get the ball rolling on pretty quickly. It's something I really missed doing, and I think that was the whole conceit. That's why this show is called what it's called. And
we want to get back to that.
Yeah, we definitely want to get back to that.
But as a 2-person thing. So, because I do have less houses, it's going to be different.
It's going to be different, but I think we'll be able to tie in the original ranking, some specialized topics that we'll be ranking, and then our kind of comparative rankings and how that'll play out. So I think that'll be really fun to kind of experiment with and see where that goes. But that's coming down the pipeline, and it'll be different, but I think it'll be fun. Woo! But we want to thank you guys so much for tuning in, whether it be YouTube, whether it be audio. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us. I know we like to disappear for months at a time, but we never stop talking about Halloween Horrors. We're always talking about it. And we'd like to talk about it more, so be prepared to hear a lot more of what we have to say. I've been Dakota.
I'm Lauren.
And thank you guys so much for tuning into the Horror Nights Gauntlet, only on Cathode Coaster.